cross product. It's a mathematical construct. We want to avoid mathematical constructs and things that are time consuming. Because you can see a cross product, when you expand it, it's going to be a long procedure, right? So right now, we want to talk about a method that you can do all this cross product in your mind without doing any mathematical things. So the way you do it, let's start with the example, right? Let's say you have, x and y axis here, and you have a vector right here, and this vector is given 2i plus 1j, for example, component is given, and this distance, let's say this distance is 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, right? And this is point O, right? Just point O, right? So right now, I want to find moment generated by this force with respect to this point. So moment is what? R cross F, right? So since you have R, you should always ask, because it's a position vector, with respect to what point? Look, force doesn't need a reference point. Force can be anywhere, right? The moment needs a reference point. So when you compute the moment, you should always say the reference point with respect to point O. So moment with respect to point O. So this point can be here. If I do here, the moment will change because the position vector will change. So moment requires two things. Force requires only one thing, right? So here, I want to compute this. The first method is what? The mathematical method. You find the R vector, and you already have the force vector. You plug it into cross product, you do the operation, and you get the answer. So let's see that. So what should I write for the R? So R will be a position vector starting from the reference point and ending to the point that force is acting on. So this is your R. You can say R sub O, but just R, right? Because we know what this thing is, right? So what should I write for R? 2I. Thank you. And 0J. I just don't write it, right? So that's R. And what's the value of force? F is already given to you. If it's not given to you, if an angle is given, the magnitude given, you know how to make it Cartesian. You already have a lot of numbers, right? So you can always get things like 2I plus j, the Cartesian form. Now, let's just plug it there. So this is method number 1. This is method number 1. To find moment using cross product. So we plug the two vectors there, we expand it, we distribute it, and finally we end up with the answer. So let's do that. So if I do that, moment with respect to point O would be R cross F, right? So my R is 2I, and F would be 2I plus J, right? So that's going to be 2 times 2, 4I cross I plus 2I cross J. You see that? This time this plus this time this. The method of distribution. Distribution. So you factor out 2, they're a scalar. 2 times 2, 4 times I cross I plus 2 times I cross J. So what's this? I cross I. 0. Because I cross I is simply the magnitude of the first one times the magnitude of the second one times sine the angle between these two vectors. What's the angle between a vector and itself? 0, right? And this sine 0 is enough to make everything 0 because this is 1, right? So this guy is 0. What about this guy? K. You take your right hand, finger goes to I, the palm would be showing the second one, J, and then your thumb would be in the direction of positive K. So that's positive K. 2 times positive K, 2K. So that's the end result. This is the answer. This was method number 1. Now let's do method number 2. What was the method number 2? To find the cross product using the determinant, right? So make that little determinant here, ijk, right? And then the first row is the first one from left to right, R. So what should I put here?
2.
2, thank you, 0, 0. What about J? What about the third row? The third row would be F. So what should I put here? 2, 1, 0. You see that? So just compute this determinant. So all you need to do is to grab these 2 columns. So you put I here, 2, 2, and copy paste it here, J, 0, 1. And then make this little diagonal here, 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 and then upwards. And then we just say I times 0, this is 0. Multiply everything on this diagonal. I times 0 times 0, 0 plus J times 0 times 2, 0 plus K times 2 times 1, 2K. So 2K minus big parentheses. Now you go to the other ones. 2 times 0 times K, 0 plus 1 times 0 times I, 0 plus 0 times 2 times J, 0. So 2K minus 0 is what? 2K. Isn't it exactly the same as we found with the method number 1? That's exactly the same. Now, this is the formal definition of cross product, and this is a mathematical approach to do it. And you know what? Although we know how to do it, we don't want to spend this much time because we are engineers, right? So you should be able to do it to see what's going on under the hood, but you never want to do it in practice. Because what? If you are employed in a company and you spend this much time on just doing a simple cross product, you get fired. You have to do things quickly, right? You have to answer your boss, right? So the way we do this is a procedure to find the cross product without doing mathematical determinant or distribution. So the way you do it is this procedure. I'm going to write it down here. Procedure. So 1, decompose each force into XYZ component. If you have 3D, if you 2D, you just need X and Y component, right? 2, move each force along this line of action, TBD, to be defined, such that it becomes orthogonal to the distance or position vector. Then the distance is called moment R. We'll talk about that soon. And 3, then the value of moment is the value of moment arm times value of force. And you just add all contribution. Add contribution from components, from XYZ, Fx, Fy, Fc. So you should do this again and again for X, Y, Z in the question.
What is that word right there? After becomes in number 2.
Orthogonal or normal, perpendicular. Perpendicular or orthogonal or normal means 90 degrees, like that. Now let's do this method by applying that procedure instead of going to the mathematical cross product. So the way I do it is step number 1. Decompose the force into X and Y component. So let's come back here. This force, I decompose it. This is the X component. Fx, its magnitude is 2. And Y, its magnitude is 1. You see? Because it's given to you, Fx, Fy. Cartesian form is already given to you, right? So step number 1 is done. Right now, I'm explaining every steps, but once you get the hold of the procedure, you just do it in your mind. You don't write anything. You don't even need to have this, right? But let's just right now check mark it step by step. So then move each force along this line of action such that it becomes perpendicular to the position vector. That means, let's start with this guy, this component, right? This is already orthogonal, as you can see. This is already orthogonal or normal or perpendicular to the position vector. So you don't need to move it. If you need to move it, let's say this force was applied here, right? Then the component would be here, and that is not normal, you see? It would be like that. Fy, and this would be position vector. You see, this is not normal. Then you would have to move it anywhere along this line of action. And what's this line of action? The line of action is anywhere along the line that is acting in the space. You can move the force anywhere along this line. Mathematically, we can prove it. If you need the proof, you can stop by my office, or if you have extra time, I'll show you, right? So you can move the force anywhere along this line, and the moment will not be changed about this point. The generate moment only from this component. But you can't move this force sideways. If you move it sideways, you have to add or remove some moment from the system because it changed the balance. But you can move it anywhere along the line of action. But look, this force is already normal. As I said, if it was here, you should have moved it here. But this is right here, right? So what is my moment arm? Moment arm is this effective or minimum distance of this reference point to this line of action, right? So what's the effective distance, minimum distance? From here to here, 2, right? So I already did that. As a matter of fact, this was already perpendicular, right? So the moment arm is 2. So now we go to step 3. What is the generated moment due to that component? Moment arm, in this case, is 2 times the value of that component. What's the value of the component? What's the value of this component? 1 times 1. In the previous class, I messed up. I put 1 here and 2 here. Just the ordering was different, and it created some ambiguity. But right now, I just write it right here, so you don't forget it, right? So the moment is 2. Now let's talk about the direction. Take your right hand, finger goes to the first one from left to right, which is R. So finger goes here, fix it, don't move your hand anymore. You can either do this or this, right? Fingers are fixed. Now the palm would be showing the direction of force. Where is the direction of force? up. So now your thumb would be out. That means positive. Because if this is X, Y, Z is out. That means positive Z, positive K. If your thumb happens to be inward, then you get negative K. So this is 2 times 1, as you can see here, is 2 times K. So the end result is simply due to this component, just this component. Moment of Fy is 2K. Alternatively, you can just simply, because in 2D is either, because you see your position vector is always in plane. So you always do this or this. So your moment is always either positive K or negative K, right? Alternatively, you can just drop K to make your life easier as an engineer. We want to simplify everything as much as we can, right? You can show it like that. Positive 2K. Or positive 2K. Or in some, like including your book, some book, they say 2, and they put a circle like that, a curved arrow like that, that shows the direction of your right hand, right? Now, if I give you something like 2 this way, then what do you conclude? Is negative 2K, right? That is equal to negative 2, which is equal to negative 2K. These are all the same, just different terminology. The value is the same, right? So, as you can see, the end result is still 2K. But we never did a single cross product. Isn't it amazing? It is, right? So let's go to a more complicated example. Let's go to page number 82. So let's just keep this here and erase all these operations. Page 82 in the book Vector Statics 5th edition, Hibler. Because you're recording it, right? So people who want to follow this instruction, they can get the book and practice it. All right, so let me draw the figure real quick. Here we have a pipe. This is fixed to the wall. Every time you see these dashed lines, that means wall. The terminology in mechanical engineering. And then we have a bunch of forces here. One is here, 50. One is here, 60. Then you have a 20 Newton here, and a 50, 40. 40 Newton here, 20 there. This is another color for dimensions. That would be 2. 2. This distance is 3, and this angle is 30 degrees. 40. All right, so now the question is, find the value of moment generated by each force with respect to point O? That's the question, right? And the second part is find the resultant moment or sum of our moments. Look, moment is also a vector, like force. You remember we had resultant force, which was just vector sum of forces? That's exactly the same. You can, because the moment is also vector, you can do vector addition of all single moments to get the resultant moment, right? So let's start with finding the moment. Let's number them. This is F1, F2, of course the magnitude, F1, F2. Let's say this is magnitude of 3, and this is magnitude of F4, right? Now, let's start with your M1. M1 is the moment generated by force 1 with respect to point O, right? And I want to use this procedure. I don't want to do cross product. If you want to do cross product, you simply make a position vector from here to here, you put it in the determinant, you get the moment. And then for F2, the same. For F3, the same. Now the position vector is from here to here. You write it in Cartesian form, you plug it in the determinant, and you get the value. I don't want to do that. I want to do the faster. So the first step is decompose. Let's write these things from the previous example. The first step is what? Decompose each force into an X and Y component. So let's start with F1. Look, this is already decomposed, purely in Y. So you don't need to do a step 1, right? Now let's go to a step 2. Move it such that it becomes normal to the distance vector. This is already normal, perpendicular to this distance. So from point O to this point, this is my R. This is my position vector. It's already normal, look. We don't need to move it. But if this was here, you should have moved it right here to make it normal. So what's my moment arm? 2 from here to here, right? So very quickly I'll say moment arm 2 times the magnitude of the force. What's the magnitude of force? 50. Positive or negative? Now this is just magnitude, right? Positive or negative? Take your right hand. First, because this is R cross F, right? First one from left to right, fingers. Go to R. Palm will be showing F. F is going down, right? So your thumb is inward the plane, which is negative K. Outward is positive, so it's negative, right? And you can alternatively put a K here, right? But I just don't do that. Because we know in 2D, is everything is either positive K or negative K. In 3D, you have to write it, because you will get IJK, 3 components, right? Now let's go to M2. What about M2? Change this. What about M2?
It's the same.
Let's follow the procedure. Follow the procedure. So I go to step 1, decompose into X and Y component. It's already in X component, you don't need to decompose it. And then move it such that it becomes perpendicular. But look here, if we move this guy, it's going to go through that point. What happens if you go through that point? The moment R becomes 0. So the cross product is 0. Another way is, what's the angle between R and F? 0. So the cross product sign of 0 is 0. So this is the key point. When you see a force passing through the reference point, the moment generated by that force is 0. You don't even bother to put a determinant or do this kind of thing or move it, whatever, right? So M3 is 0, right? Now let's go to force number 3. Now here is the step that we use moving. So far we haven't moved anything. Now this is one example that you moved it, right? So moment coming from force 3 is equal. First decompose it the x and y component. Well, force number 3 is already in the x component, pure x, right? You don't need to decompose it. So step 1 is done. Move it such that it becomes normal to the position vector. Let's draw the position vector. Now the position vector for that from O to this point. This is my R3, the position vector of vector number 3. From the position vector starts from the reference point and ends at the point that force is acting on, right? So now the question is this angle, the direction between this and the force, is this normal? Is not. So I have to move, step number 2, move the force. So I have to move such that I reach to a point that it becomes normal. So where should I move it? Line of action. You can't move this force sideways. So where is the line of action? The line of action is here. Right? This is the line of action of the force. You can move it anywhere. As a matter of fact, you can move it here, here, you can move it all the way like that along this line without making absolutely no problem. This is a line of action, right? So, where should I move it to make the angle to be 90 degrees?
Back.
Back, thank you. So I move this guy, I move it right here, right? There you go. So that's my 20 Newton force, and I just remove it from here because I moved it, right? And this is my F3. Now you see this is normal with respect to this. Now your R also moves because R is also attached to this. Your R moment position vector will move, and this is your moment arm, R3. Now you see the angle 90 degree? So what's your moment arm? From here to here. That's your moment arm, which is numerical value is what?
3.
3 times. This one is cosine, this one. 3 times sine 30 is just the magnitude of this side, because this side is just this side, and in this triangle, right? And also in this triangle, look at this triangle. 3 times cosine 30 is this side, 3 times sine 30 is this side, right? So that's going to be moment arm, which is 3 sine 30 times the value of force. What's the value of force? Yeah, that component is 20. Minus 20, right? Positive or negative? Positive. Again, right hand, finger goes to R, like that. And the palm will be showing the force. Now your thumb will be showing the value of cross product, which is positive outward the plane. So that's positive. Now let's go to the last one. The last one is this guy, right? So what would be the M4? Now you can quickly go through the procedure. Decompose it, already decomposed. I don't need to decompose it, it's in Y direction, right? Then the next step would be moving the line of action such that it becomes normal. So where should I move it? To become normal with respect to this point. Right here, right? So the moment arm is this distance, right? From here to here. So what is this distance? 2 plus 2, 4 plus 3 cosine 30. So 4 plus 3 cosine 30 is moment arm times the value of force. You know, I'm doing a step 2. What's the value of force? 40, right? Positive or negative? Negative, thank you. Now if I ask you to find the resultant moment, what do you do? Yeah, you just add all those things together, right? So you just add moment, because it's like force. You remember we add vector addition of force to become resultant force. Vector addition of moments become resultant moment. But because in this case everything is k, the vector addition is also in k, so we don't write it. We just sum of the positive and negative, right? So you just sum all these things, you put them in the calculator, you sum, and you get the number here. And that's going to be MR, resultant moment. When you see R, that means resultant, which is just simply summation of that, right? Now let's go to a more complicated example. You can, if you want, you can move here, because I'm going to write it on the other whiteboard. You can sit here, see, maybe or maybe somewhere else on this side. All right, so let's say you have a crane. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, so here, 60 degree, 68. All right, I think that should be enough. And let's say side length. This is 1 meter, and this one is 1 meter. So a configuration is given is a crane, and it's fixed here. This is called a statically indeterminate system, right? Then we have a system of loading on it. So each one of those is a load. So imagine this crane is lifting some load here. Let's make this 8. let's make this 20. The heaviest load is here. 20 kilonewton is right here. That's the heaviest load applied to the crane. And then you have some other loading. Maybe they fix the crane with some rope, some cable. Then you have a 3K at 45 degree, and there is another cable here, 2K at 30 degree, some other loads here. And the dimension of the structure is given. Each bar is 1, 1. So this is the square root of 2, right? The diagonals. And now I'll give you 1 point. Let's say, pick 1 point. Let's say this point right here, O. This point. You see that point? Now I ask you find the resultant moment, which is simply summation of moment of all these forces around point O. So what should I do? Well, one way is to find, for example, for this guy, I'll just explain for one of them. For, let's see, where is the other color here? For example, for this guy, I need to make a position vector. So that's my position vector. See that? It will start from the reference point to the point that force acts. So you need to find Cartesian form of these ij's, right? How do you find Cartesian form of that? Well, you know how much in X you have 1, 2, 3 I, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 J. So 3I plus 4J, right? And then you cross product it with the Cartesian form of this guy. And that's going to take a long time, right? That's one way. The other way, the fast way that you consider is just to decompose it into X and Y components and then move each component such that you get the contribution to the resultant moment, right? So, for example, let's start with this guy. Let's start with this guy. What's the moment due to that guy? What should I do? First, decompose it XY. This is already in Y, right? So I go to a step to move it such that it becomes normal to this distance. So where should I move it? Down, thank you. So I move it right here, right? I move it right here, 20 kilonewton. Don't forget, when you have K, that means 20 times 10 to 3. That's a big number, it's not just 20, right? So you move it right here, and right now you see, this is your position vector, and this is your force, they're normal. So what's your moment arm?
6.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from here to here, which is 6 meters, right? So the moment coming from there, I just write it, resultant moment is equal to. The moment coming from that force is distance, which is 6 times the value of force, 20. Now, we go to talk about direction, positive or negative. That's going to be negative, right? Why negative? You take your right hand, finger goes to R. This is R. Palm would be showing the force, and now your tongue would be the direction of movement, which is inward. Positive is outward, inward is negative. So that's going to be negative. Now plus. Now I go to the second movement. So instead of writing everything independently like this, it takes bigger space, right? We just write it just in one line, right? So I go to the next one. Check mark it, so I'm done with this guy. The next one is this. So what's the moment of this by the same token? It would be, move it. You should move it right here, right? You get normal. Then 5 times 1, 1K. 1K, this is not 1, this is 1K, 1,000, right? So 1 times 1K, sorry, this distance is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 times 1k, positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, thank you. Now, check mark it. Let's go to the other one. Now this guy, look at this guy. Decompose it, step 1. You see we didn't decompose here because these were already in the y direction. For this guy, let's do a step 1. Decompose it into x and y component. So you would get a y component like that, an x component like this. So what's the value of y component? 3k, thank you, sine this angle, which is 45 degrees. And the x component is 3k cosine 45 degrees. Right? Now let's do it for this component. And then do it with this component. So instead of doing this at one shot, we decompose it. Step number 1, decompose. And then step number 2, move. So we do this guy and then we add this guy. So if I move this, what do I get?
3.
1, 2, 3. 3 times?
3k sine.
Thank you. Plus 3, the distance times the value of force is 3k sine 45. Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, thank you. Now you go to this guy. So where should I? Yeah.
No, I'm trying to do the right hand rule.
Oh, yeah. In the exam, you see all the students are doing this, you know, when it comes to exam. That doesn't mean they're happy. Like, oh, I got it. That means I'm just struggling to find that sign, you know. And usually, for us, we always end up with the wrong answer in the first try. But anyway, so now let's go to this guy, this component. Move it. Where should I move it?
Back.
No, you can't move it down, this sidebar.
Back.
You can either move it this way along with line of action. Where is the line of?
Would you be able to move it at a diagonal?
You can move it at the diagonal. Yeah. But we want to stick to the procedure that I said. You know, I gave you a procedure, decompose it so you have perfectly y, perfectly x. So now you move it right here, right? If you move it right here, you will end up putting it here. And then you see, from here to here is what? Orthogonal, normal. So what's your moment arm?
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be 4 times the value of force. What's the value of force?
3k sine.
Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, thank you. Right? Now let's go to this guy. I'm going to write it very, very quickly, right? Because we won't have time to do that. So that guy is going to be 3 times 2k cosine positive negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 2k sine 30. I'm done with this. You see how fast it is? You don't even do one single cross product. It just takes you 5 seconds. So you're done with this guy, you're done, check mark it. You're done with this guy, this and this. Now, do you know how I did this? The same procedure. Step number 1, decompose it into x and y. Right? So the x would be 2k cosine sine 30, y would be 2k cosine 30, right? And then move this guy. So when you move it here, the moment arm would be 1, 2, 3. So that's the reason I have 3 times 2k cosine 30 positive, because it's going this way, right? Positive. The other one, 2k sine 30, now you move it right here. And what's the moment arm? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see? Now the last one, this guy. I'm going to just write it here. So it's going to be plus 6k cosine 60 times 1, right? Plus 6k sine 60 times 5. That's all. I just put in a calculator and then I get my decimal right here. So how did I do this? Again, decompose it. The first thing you do, so you get this component, which is 6k cosine 60, and this component, which is 6k sine 60, right? And then you can move this guy right here, and the moment arm would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 6k sine 60 and positive, because look, R cross F, your thumb would be out. In fact, we have a positive K. Every single of these, they have a K. But we just don't write it. It's a vector. It's not just a number. The output is a vector. In 3D, we have to write that K because you may have I and J. When you do cross product, you may have I and J. We reach that point, right? Now, for this component, you can move it, this component now. You can move it right here. If you move it right here, the distance would be 1, right? If you move it along line of action. The distance is just 1. So 1 times 6k cosine 60. 1 times 6k cosine 60. Positive or negative? Positive or negative? Positive. You take your right hand, go like that. So if you move it, let's move it here. So when you move it here, it's going to be like this, right? And your R, the distance vector, will be like that, right? That's your R. Because originally your R was here, right? This is your R. So when you move it here, your R becomes like that, become normal, right? Take your right hand, R cross F. Finger, thumb would be out. So positive. That's the reason I have positive. So this is the most complicated example you can get for finding the resultant moment, right? Now this procedure, I'll show you how to extend. You see, this is in fact one line. I'll show you how to extend this in 3D next class. Okay? Usually in 3D everybody do Cartesian, but I'll show you how to extend this in 3D, and still don't do cross product because we never want to do cross product. I think that's all for today.